1. Okay, and we are live, and I am so excited for GFBF Talks this evening. This is really a thrill for me. And this is our 10th episode that we've been doing, and I'll start with the welcome. And we'd like to welcome you, Delwyn, and we'd like to welcome everyone out there who's tuned in to spend an hour with us for GFBF Talks. And I'm Dennis Garden, the Executive Director of the Georgia Firefighters Burn Foundation. And our mission is to partner with the fire service and burn care community to provide fire safety and prevention education, support medical facilities, and assist burn survivors in their recovery. And the most key part of our mission is assisting burn survivors in their recovery, because our tagline is help, hope, and healing beyond the burn. And with the pandemic, it's causing us to have to enjoy a little bit of distance and separation. And we are so honored and glad to be able to provide this format, which we call GFBF Talks. And tonight we have a very special guest. This is our first segment where we've done a one-on-one interview. All the other segments have been panel discussions. And I am so jazzed tonight because I can't think of a better person to do a one-on-one interview or conversation with. And before I introduce my good friend, I just have to tell you, Delwyn, that you have impacted my life. You and Alan have impacted my life personally more than you can ever imagine. Oftentimes I say that you guys actually saved my life. And I'm not just speaking for me, I'm speaking for burn survivors all across the world. And I can say that with all confidence. And we want to encourage people to send in your comments or questions as we have this conversation, because we welcome them all. And I have to do my little shameless plug. Those who want to support the Georgia Firefighters Burn Foundation, log on to our website at www.gfbf.org to donate and assist us in this wonderful work that we're doing. But it is my honor and my great privilege to introduce tonight Delwyn Breslau, who we have called the First Lady of the Burn Community. And more than being the First Lady of the Burn Community, I'm introducing my friend. So good evening, Delwyn, and thank you for joining me tonight.
Oh, Dennis, first of all, thank you so much. I've got to say how honored and privileged I feel, that, and humbled too, that you've invited me to do this, let alone be given the title of the First Lady of the Burn Community. No, I feel very honored and humbled and privileged, and thank you so much. And what a delight it is to catch up with you again.
Yes, it is. It's pretty cool, and just to be connected with you, my friend, on the other side of the world, because I think it's 11 o'clock where you are AM on tomorrow.
That's right. Yes.
It's 11 a.m. Yes. Yeah. And it's just amazing, this technology, but when we decided on the title of First Lady of the Burn Community, it wasn't even a title we needed to decide on, because it's just true. It's just true. And I'd like for you to have a chance just to say hello to everyone, because a lot of people have been wondering about you and wondering how you're doing and that kind of thing. So anything you'd like to share with our audience, if you will?
Well, that's very sweet of you, Dennis. Yeah, I'm getting there. Well, I'm keeping on telling myself I'm getting there. Yeah, it's not easy, as I'm sure you all understand and know. But Alan always said that when he passed, he wanted me to be happy. So I'm working on that. It's not easy, but I keep telling myself I'm getting there, and I feel that I am. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those who are listening who don't know, unfortunately, Alan made his transition earlier this year after a bout with a lengthy illness, but we always considered you guys the dynamic duo. How you guys just, really were on the forefront of the burn survivor community, and just visionary leaders and things. And what made Alan so passionate about this work, about this cause, I should say, more than work, a mission?
Well, he felt that, well, I think we all know that he had such an inner strength and confidence in his own self-image, and he helped he just wanted to project that and help other people in the way that he felt that could help them through their trauma. I mean, he was, for starters, he was always the king of optimism. He always saw the bright side of absolutely everything, and to be facing life in with a completely different image. He decided to take it upon himself to feel that this is a whole new exciting adventure. And he always delighted in the fact that he looked different, and he could project a confident self-image out there that hopefully could make other people feel comfortable when they're in his presence. And he wanted to help other people in the way that he felt could be advantageous to them.
Hmm. Hmm. You know, and we really do look at you guys as you were the dynamic duo, because I'm just not sure if he could have accomplished all he accomplished if it wasn't you guys doing it together. And I know that you downplay the role that you've had, and you downplay your impact. But Delwyn, I tell you, we don't look at Alan and you. We look at the two of you. You know, Alan and Delwyn, Delwyn and Alan, and we talk about his passion. But what about you? Because you were right there on the forefront as well. Where'd your passion come from, Delwyn?
Well, my passion to help burn survivors stemmed from when my, then 8-year-old son was 40% full thickness burned when he was just 8 years old. And at that time, there was no psychosocial support here in New Zealand for anyone who had suffered a burn injury. And it was while he was in hospital having the surgeries, that I was sitting in the waiting room alongside another parent of a little girl who was undergoing surgery as well. And she'd had many surgeries. And as wonderful as all the doctors and the nurses were at explaining everything to me, because I was in a semi-traumatized state myself, everything was sort of going in one ear and out the other. But it didn't matter as many times if I asked this other parent the same question 2 or 3 times in as many days. He was very comfortable talking to me, and it was a very comfortable situation and made me feel at ease. And so when Brendan was finally discharged from hospital, I just said to the nurses, if you have any other parents who come up and who want to just sort of sit down and have a chat or a cup of coffee with another parent of a burned child, please call me. Well, at that stage, I had my own wedding gown business, and they just kept calling me to the extent that I had to give up my wedding gown business. And I just sort of realized that there was a huge gap here, and it needed to be filled. And so I just continued going up to the hospital, visiting at their request, and the visits became more and more frequent. And then I'd sort of met up and made some incredible connections with all these burn survivors that I felt I had to start getting them all together. So I started having meetings in my home, because I could see the value in getting burn survivors together. Alan always said, the burn survivors help other burn survivors. And so this is what I did. And so I had all these meetings in my home, and I'd always invite a burn professional, perhaps usually in the medical field, to come to my home to be the guest speaker. And then one of the evenings I had 2 plastic surgeons come, and they said, "Oh, Delwyn, you can't go on having these meetings in your home." I mean, the house was beginning to need elastic sides at that stage. And he said, no, we'll organize a room in the hospital for you. So they organized a room in the hospital, and the meetings just grew from there. From like 3 or 4 people coming to the first one, we sort of ended up with about 30 or 40 people coming. And it just got bigger and bigger. And so then I sort of started many other groups around the country, and I started raising money and having support group meetings. And it just sort of took off. And then probably after a year or 2, I received a letter quite out of the blue one day from a social worker in Australia. And to this day, I don't know how she heard about me, but she said, "I've heard about the amazing work you're doing in New Zealand for burn survivors. I'm going to the first World Burn Congress in Philadelphia next year. And would you like me, I'm presenting a paper, and would you like me to talk about what you're doing in New Zealand? So I wrote back and said, oh my God, that sounds amazing. Because at that stage I was thinking, oh, I can't be the only one in the world doing this thing. Excuse me, I'm just going to have to cough here. So she wrote back and said, well, it's being organised by the Phoenix Society for Burn Survivors, and the executive director is Alan Breslau. And so I wrote off to this Alan Breslau saying that who I was the mother of a burn child, and I was interested in learning more about this World Burn Congress that was coming up. And he wrote back and said that he was inviting me to be a guest speaker at this conference. I thought, oh my God. So it was wonderful in that our plastic surgeons, they could see the value and hopefully in me going. And so they helped fund me to go to the conference. And along with a couple of other governmental organizations here. And so, yeah, that's how I came to go to the Congress and meet Alan.
Okay. And I want to get to the love story. That's
I knew you would.
You know that I do. But for those who don't know or aren't familiar with what the Phoenix Society is, would you just share a little synopsis of that? Because this is such an amazing organization that you guys built, and it continues on. Now you guys have left quite a legacy. But if you want to share what that is, or the genesis of the Phoenix Society.
Oh, thank you. Well, I guess it all really, my involvement with the Phoenix Society began when Alan and I met in the hotel lobby. And I arrived in Philadelphia for the World Burn Congress, and we had arranged to meet in the lobby. And yeah, it was big hugs, and we sort of felt an immediate love connection. I think, well, I know.
I guess that tends to happen in hotel lobbies, doesn't it, at conferences? But go on.
And so then he said, oh, you must come to lunch. There's a bunch of us burn survivors going to lunch in the hotel restaurant. So join us. So I joined them all for lunch, and in the restaurant there was that banquet seating, and so I took my seat on the banquet behind the table, and then his arm sort of casually went along the back of the banquet seating, and then sort of by the end of the lunch I sort of felt a gentle squeezing of my shoulder, and his arm was along the back of it, and because my heart was thumping, and and then before I know it, probably about 3 days later, he told me that he wanted to marry me.
Really?
He did, yeah. And and I oh my God, I remember someone say he was telling the story to somebody several years later, and they said to him, what, you told her you wanted to marry her after knowing her for just 3 days? And he said, yes, I thought if I let her get away, I'd regret it for the rest of my life.
Wow.
So at that stage, I was sort of a bit overwhelmed, as you can imagine. At that stage, I'd been on my own, probably for about 6 or 7 years. And I'd sort of made divorce is a horrendous thing to happen to anyone at any time anyway. But having gone through one, I'd always vowed and declared I was never, ever going to go through another one. And so I'd made this personal credo that I would not commit on a permanent type of relationship until I'd known the guy for at least a minimum of 3 years.
Not 3 days.
So I told him this, but I said, but given that you're on the other side of the world, and it's going to take me that much longer to get to know you, I'm going to have to make this 5 years, I'm afraid, because there's obviously a lot of things that have to happen. And I said, besides, I've got 2 young boys at home, and I want them to obviously come with me and when I emigrate, but also to be independent enough to stay back in New Zealand if that's what they chose to do. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that was what they had chosen to do. But yeah, so 5 years it was. And of course, another consideration was the fact that he was 20 years older than me. Not that really made any difference. It really didn't. But I told him that it did.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's how you can reframe the story now. Yeah. It wasn't this old man hitting on you in a hotel lobby.
Yeah, it was 5 years later we married, because during that 5 years, we only really saw each other once or twice a year. And funny, he would write letters, and at that stage there was no email. How he would phone call regularly, and he would write many letters. I've got 2 shoeboxes full of letters, actually, beautiful letters. He just expressed himself so beautifully. He really did. And oh, the letters would keep coming, and he would cover them with these beautiful stamps. You know, your beautiful American love stamps. I think they're just
Yes.
adorable. And so every envelope would be almost covered all over with these beautiful stamps. And eventually I soaked them all off, as you know, and covered a few things with them, and made a box. And after I immigrated, he used to write little, after we married and I immigrated, he would leave these little post-it notes all over the house. I'd find them sort of stuck on my computer, and in the cutlery drawer, and in my knickers drawer, and all over the house. And so I've got over 100 of them now, and I've got them stuck in what I call my little love box. And this box,
and you know, Delwyn, you glossed over the box, but the box is just, it is just so cool to me. And I'm not going to let you gloss over it, where you took the stamps and you put them around a box.
Yeah, I did.
Kept the letters.
Hang on, I'm just looking for it here. Hang on, if you just excuse me for a minute. I thought I had it.
That's okay. I just thought it was so cool that
Yeah.
First of all, that he would send you love letters, and you would take the stamps and decorate a box with it, and use that as the box to keep the letters in, tied with a lace bow on it. To me, that's like movie story kind of love story. And you just glossed over it, but I could not let you do that.
Well, hang about a bit. Hang about.
Okay, we'll wait for you, because I love this love story.
Hang on. This is the box.
Yes.
This is the box. So here's the bow, right? You see the bow, and inside there's more. Inside is all these.
Yeah. I mean, that is a love story, and I could not let you gloss over that.
These are all the.
Wow.
So those are all the little post-it notes that they were left all over the house for me.
Yeah. See, and you know, you reaffirm my belief that true love does exist, and
it does.
The cutest thing, and I was not going to let you gloss over that, but speaking of the love story and you guys being together in that courtship and proposal after 3 days, and you know, love at first sight, it does happen. But with Alan being, and I think this is important to talk about this, and you and I have shared this conversation before, because there are people who get burned, injured, and have scars. You know, as I have some extensive scarring, and Alan was significantly scarred as well. And so, does this not limit me from finding true love, or people with scars? And I would love for you to speak on that a little bit, because I think that'll bring hope in people's lives, because sometimes we do have a little bit of self-esteem issue that comes with this, obviously.
Sure. Well, coming from my own perspective, I couldn't have cared less if he was purple with green spots. I fell madly in love with his mind, and the way he coped with his disfigurement. I was in awe of what he had been through. And I think if any prospective partner has any qualms about an appearance of a person, they're not the person for you. As I said, I couldn't have cared less if he was purple with green spots. I fell in love with his mind. I didn't care what he looked like. And I'm sure
you didn't know his mind when you met him, though. That was this guy.
No, but it was at that first day of the conference when, first of all, I was in awe of what he had been through, because when he wrote that first letter back to me, asking me to be a speaker at the conference, he didn't, in the business, sort of the so-called business letter, he didn't mention that he didn't mention anything about his burn injury, but he enclosed a newspaper clipping, and the newspaper clipping talked about his plane crash and that he'd been in hospital for 5 years, and he'd lost the top of his head, his eye, his ear, his nose, his thumb, and some fingers. And so the news clipping was all about his story. And so when I read the story, I thought, my God, this guy is something else. He's gone through all of this, and he's established a worldwide organization. So I was totally in awe at that stage. And then when I met him, it was just, yeah, I was still in awe of him. And then I saw him speaking at the Congress, and he was talking about how people do all sorts of things to look different. They have tattoos, they spike their hair, they do have piercings, they do all sorts of things to get attention. And he said to the audience, we who are burned, we don't have to do anything to get that attention. We've already got it. We've just got to project a positive, self-confident image, and people will respect and admire you. He said, I know, he said, I could walk past a group of punk rockers, they take one look at me and I just know they're eating their hearts out. And when I heard that, I thought, I'm falling in love with this guy.
Wow. Wow.
And so I thought, well, anyone who can cope with the disfigurement in the way he has is somebody extremely and very, very special.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, things developed from there.
So for people, it's not the outer appearance, it's really the scars that people carry inside that limits them. Is that what you're saying in terms of love and finding someone to love and allowing someone to love you? Yeah. Did Alan ever share when he turned that corner? Because it couldn't have been that way all the time. Did he ever share when he turned the corner?
No. I'm sure it was like that all the time. Yeah. No, he, as I said, he was the forever optimist. He always looked for the happy and the bright side of absolutely everything. I mean, he didn't know the meaning of the word stress.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know the meaning of the word stress. Any little sort of hiccups that are happening, sort of life hiccups, as it were, would happen along. He didn't have got stress. He'd always say, "Don't worry, everything will work out," and everything always did, funnily enough. But
Mm-hmm.
so his appearance was always the least of his concern. He looked at that as a positive thing, because it gave him an opportunity to project a happy and confident image out there, and people respected and admired him for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't matter wherever he went, he was always remembered. And he always maintained that was a very positive thing. I mean, we could go into a restaurant once and maybe not go back again for another year. They would never remember me, but they would always remember him. And not only would they remember him, they would remember what he ordered, And he always thought this was a very positive thing, and he enjoyed it. He really enjoyed looking different.
And being the partner of someone who looks different, what was it like from your perspective? Because I know from my own experience, it was a challenge for me when people had an issue with my appearance, but the bigger challenge was how it impacted the people who were with me, how they struggled with that. And it was a real delicate balancing act. And I just wonder, how did you navigate that? What was that like?
Oh, I've never struggled with it at all, Dennis. I've never struggled with it. No, I mean, there's times when we used to go into the supermarket and people would wheel their trolleys around and around the aisle 2 or 3 times, just to get a better look at him. And he would always smile and he would always be happy and confident, and, as I say, project a happy image. And
so you never got tired of that? Just tired of being not normal?
No,
Okay.
never. No, not at all. No.
Okay.
No. In fact, I always enjoyed seeing how he interacted with other people and seeing their response, because he would never get angry or upset with the curious glances or looks that people may give him, that would never ever upset or make him angry, um, because he knew that people always looked at someone or something that looked a little bit different, and it was just always a natural curiosity, and people are always going to do this, and
Mhm.
he accepted that. And if he had the opportunity, he would say, you know, I've been burned, would you like me to tell you my story?
Mhm.
And then if they say yes, and then, you know, my God, they hear the story, you know, they can't believe it, and they're in awe of him, and you know, he's got a new friend, and
Mhm.
that's how he always looked at it and coped with it. Hmm.
And for people who are out there who are listening, um, is that a lesson that they can take away, that when people are staring, it's not always personal, that it could
Oh,
be for
totally,
some
yeah.
people?
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, it's a natural curiosity that we will always look at things or someone or something that is a little bit different to the norm. And yeah, and he said, even if I see somebody who looks a little bit different, I'll always take a second look. It's just a natural response because um, apparently, I think there has been studies done that um, when someone does look different and people take a second look at them, they don't know what they're looking at, and
Mhm.
they perceive it as a possibility of a threat to them, and they just need to check it out. And so this is how Alan used to cope with it. He was used to say, would you like me to tell you my story? And
Mhm.
they'd always say yes, and you know, then he's got a new friend, and he would never ever get angry or upset if people staring, ever, ever, ever.
And,
No.
I think the way you guys navigated that, um, you really put your thumbprint on the Phoenix Society. You know, creating that organization, just not leading it, but leading it by example. You know, because Alan didn't accept self pity. He just did not
No, no.
accept that. And I'll be honest. My first World Burn, when I met you guys, I thought Alan was crazy as hell. I mean, I did, you know, and I've told you that I thought he was insane.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, but as I said, thank God for that kind of insanity, though, because there had to be a little bit of insanity just to keep pushing, you know, just to blazing that trail that people really didn't understand, and just to see what the Phoenix Society has come, what has become now as a result of, I'll say his vision, but I'll say the work of the two of you, because
Oh,
it was a partnership, because you guys were walking in lockstep, you know. And there's no Alan without Delwyn, you know. That just would not have been. It was just a match made in heaven, and
oh,
he was
thank you,
pretty
Dennis.
astute after 3 days. Uh, Proposing to you, but you probably left out some details of what happened through that 3 days in the hotel. But we want to keep this PG, so we'll just that we will skip over. And I do want to mention that the Phoenix Society is having their first virtual World Burn Congress coming up in a couple of days. This Friday, is a matter of fact. And it's pretty cool that despite the pandemic and all the things that are going on, that World Burn is still going to happen in a virtual capacity. But it's pretty cool, and we want folks to know that that's happening. And you can visit the website at phoenixsociety.org to get more information. But it's really going to be, anyone who's ever attended World Burn, the thing we hear most often is it's an amazing, transformative event. And I'm not even sure if you can put it in words, but if anyone's interested in getting more information on that, you can go to the website and get information. And there are organizations that are doing sponsorships and those kind of things. And when looking at this video of all these things that have happened, just to see how this has grown from where you guys have taken it, Delwyn, it's gotta be very fulfilling for you that the legacy lives on. And
Oh, well, yeah, fulfilling is the understatement of the year, Dennis.
mhm.
We were always both so in awe of what Amy has achieved with her wonderful team of people that she has. There's just no words. There's just no words to express our appreciation and admiration, and as I say, the awe in which we hold her and the organization and the stage at which it's got today.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. And I saw a wonderful saying recently about when you're walking in the darkness, that the journey can be so much more comforting with someone walking beside you holding a lantern. And I think that basically sums up how the Phoenix Society can help people who are burned and disfigured and their families. It's just it just can be so overwhelming. And if you can have a support organization like the Phoenix Society beside you, yeah, I mean, it just makes all the difference.
It does.
Yeah.
And talking about aftercare and support and those kind of things, why is that even important to be connected to a community of burn survivors? And the term burn survivor has been expanded upon to include not just the person physically injured, but everyone who's impacted by that injury. They're all part of the burn survivor community. And why is it important to be connected to a community of burn survivors, gentlemen?
Well, because I think it gives you an opportunity to tell your story. And Alan always maintained that telling your story is what puts you on a trajectory to healing. To take every opportunity you can to tell your story, because the more frequently you tell it, the more, I guess, the more internal healing happens for you, the more accepting you become of yourself. And yeah, it's just a matter of acknowledging what's happened and accepting what's happened. And by telling your story, you just become more and more accepting. And the more you tell it, the shorter the story gets. I remember when my son was burnt. Oh my God, I used to tell every tiny little detail. But now, yes, I had a son who was burned, and it just gradually diminishes in size, and you become much more accepting of the whole situation, and much more comfortable with yourself.
And because when I stumbled into the burn community and my first world burn, it was almost 25 years post burn for me, before I even knew other burn people existed. And I recall meeting you guys at very first world burn, and Alan telling me that the day is going to come where you're going to be glad you got burned. I would say, well, hell, it's been 20 years and I'm not glad about it yet, but I've moved past it. And I was leading a fairly successful life. Things were, quote, normal. But there was an entire part of myself that I had ignored. And that part of me being burned, that was not going to go away, no matter how many of the normal things I did. And I remember meeting about 8 burn survivors, my first support group I went to in Detroit. And they were talking, the first group I went to, they were talking about World Burn. So I ended up going to World Burn, in my very first World Burn, and I met you guys. And the opening ceremony, a speaker canceled, and Alan and Bob Nice had me go up on the stage to speak. My very first, now I'm in a hotel with 100 and some burn people, and it took everything I had just to not totally lose it. Now you want me to get on the stage, and I got on that stage and I had a meltdown. I mean, people applauded me, but I couldn't tell you today what I said. I knew I cried a lot. And once I opened my mouth to begin talking about it, like you said, as difficult as it was, I could not stop talking about it. And it became very cathartic for me. And you're right, the story does, change, and, memories were coming up, but man, there was no way I was gonna truly heal without going that route. There was no path of least resistance. And
so telling the story that starts putting you on the trajectory.
Yes, and it's sort of like, 12 step. The first step in recovery is admitting it, just saying that there's an issue here. And it changed my life. And when I say to you guys impacted my life, you changed my life, you saved my life, I mean that in every sense of the word. And it's just, and I know that neither one of you had any idea that the Phoenix Society would become what it's become. but it became what it's supposed to be because you guys connected and together you built what was supposed to be built. And can never thank you enough for that. But we talk a lot about what you've done and how you've helped. What has the struggle been like for you, Delwyn? Who helps the helper? Who cares for the caregiver?
Oh, goodness gracious. I don't know. Oh, goodness gracious me. I've never really thought about that, Dennis. You just keep putting on I just kept putting one foot in front of the other and doing what I felt I had to do. Yeah, no, I really, I'm struggling to answer that one because I just sort of kept doing what you have to do. Yeah.
And I think when even struggling with an answer, saying that really is an answer, and I feel that because there are a lot of people who are caregivers and who take care of people and not really include themselves in that group that needs to be cared for. Who cares for the caregiver? We all know about compassion fatigue. We know about that. How we just give and give and give, and sometimes we give to the degree that it's not healthy, or sometimes we give and do because as long as I'm taking care of you, I don't have to think about my own stuff. And we each have to answer that on our own. I know I struggle with that. I felt that I was cared for so much as a kid that I used up all of my cares for me. So now as an adult, it's very difficult for me to allow someone to care for me because I still carry a lot of guilt from all the people who had to take care of me. Because as a teenager, it was very, very difficult to have my brother or my sister assist me on the bedpan and have to clean me up afterward. That was just so difficult, and things that people don't talk about, because it's just, and I still carry that. There's still that little Dennis carrying a lot of that stuff that's here in my adulthood. But the more I talk about it, the more I put myself in the company of others who understand, because in my experience, I heard so often, I understand what you're going through. I heard that a lot, but I knew people meant well, but no, you haven't a clue of what I've gone through, not unless you've walked this journey. And it's just so incredibly powerful to have someone just listen. And what we do here,
like holding the lantern in the darkness for you.
Holding the lantern in the darkness, and I think the most powerful thing we do here at the Georgia Firefighters Burn Foundation is we allow people to give voice to how they feel. We can't fix anyone. We're not trying to fix anyone. We just want to be a support. And like you said, hold that lantern for someone, and we can walk together in the darkness and hold that lantern. And you guys have done that, in spades, you and Alan, you've done that. And I'm not just talking about in New Zealand or the US, I'm talking about around the world, around the world. And I think having this time to chat with you and allow people to hear your voice and to see you, I think that's huge because you are loved so much, Delwyn.
Thank you, Dennis. There's actually a couple of other things I would like to expand on with regard to Alan's philosophies and his the optimism that he had. He always maintained that life is all about choices. That every morning we can wake up and we can choose to be happy or we can choose to be miserable. And that is a personal choice. And so this was a very big mainstay in his the way he thought about life and coping with everything. And he also said that smiling is such a powerful tool, and that people just can't help smiling back at someone who smiles at them. He would say, if you haven't experimented with the smile, try it. You'll be amazed at how effective it is. And so this is, another one of his little personal philosophies that I think helped get him through. Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't imagine how difficult it was having a son and a husband who are burn survivors, which is pretty interesting.
Well, by the time I'd met Alan, Brendan was well on the road, so
Right. Okay. And to, I guess, to prove how passionate you are about the burn survivor community, would you like to share how you took it to a whole nother level recently yourself? And you knew I was going to bring it up with you getting injured yourself.
Oh. Oh.
Delwyn, for everyone out there, Delwyn is now officially a burn survivor herself who spent some time in the burn center. So yeah, I'm calling you out on it, Delwyn.
Oh, I had a little accident, accidentally spilt some boiling water. And yeah, I spent a week in the burn unit, but fortunately I didn't require grafting. So that was a good thing. But yeah, now I'm officially part of the gang. So that feels it's a good feeling. Yeah, I'm definitely one of you guys now. So it's all good. Yeah.
I'm glad you got through it. I'm glad you're okay. But
Yep.
you were part of the gang. You didn't have to go to those lengths to prove it. But it is rather serendipitous that would happen to you, right?
Oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah, an auto mechanic should never be on the side of the road with his car broken down, right? It just shouldn't happen. You've done in the burn community, that's not supposed to happen. But again, thank God that you got through that, and you're
That's
okay.
right. That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything we haven't touched on that you'd like to share, Delwyn?
Well, in front of me, I've got a little. I made a little list of all the things, little Alan's quotations that he had. That I think perhaps I'll quote some of them to you. Shall I?
Yes, please.
He would say here, look upon every day as a celebration, and instead of waiting for happy endings, open your eyes to the wonder of life and see the humor and magic in each moment. Delight in the way things always turn out and amaze at the beauty of it all in the process, which he really lived that. He walked the walk and he talked the talk, as you well know. Happiness is a decision. We can choose to be miserable or we can choose to be happy. In a society where physical beauty is prized, keep in mind that high self-esteem and a positive attitude will never ever fade with time. We can go on to live more, we can go on to live better and more fulfilling lives, doing things we might never have done or achieved had we not undergone the trauma. Mm-hmm. The old person will never be there again. You will never look the same, feel the same, or be the same again. You have to grieve that loss. Give up that person, not keep looking for that person or even trying to get back to that person, because you never can. Instead, you are reborn. You must look to the future and build a new life. Today I live more intensely than before. My accident and disfigurement have given me an edge. I regret nothing. I feel no bitterness. I blame no one. I am a victor of circumstances, not a victim. What I have now is life, and life is everything. So yeah, those are just a few little things. If your face deviates from the average, regardless of the cause, remember that you are the one who has the power. You can give the power to strangers, or you can keep it for yourself. It's your choice. This is one circumstance where sharing is discouraged. Life, there is so much power in coming together to heal. That was just sort of a little list of things that I thought was important to share.
Yeah, and you guys lived that. They weren't just quotations to go in the book or on the page. You guys actually lived that. And I know the one of the burn camps that I had the privilege of attending with you guys for so many years, Camp Susquehanna. And I remember my first camp there, and we were having just a chatting, shooting the breeze that first night, and we're talking and things. And one of the kids was really, really struggling, and Alan popped his ear off and threw it at the kid, because the kid was talking about some fingers that were missing. Alan popped his ear off and threw it at the kid, and the kid caught it. He said, "So what's the big deal? You're worried about what you lost, but it's really about what you still have." And,
yeah.
I was so taken aback by that, but I so appreciated it. But it's like, damn, did he just pop his ear off and throw it at this kid? And it really spoke to who Alan was.
He always maintained that it's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with it.
Yeah. I said, this guy just popped his ear off and tossed it across the room at this kid, which really brought the kid back to where he needed to be, because, you complain about what you're missing. So what? So what,
Yeah.
don't not appreciate what you have. But that's who Alan was.
Yeah.
That's who he
Dennis,
was. Yes.
someone in chat asked if there was any way those quotes from Alan can be sent out.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I'll look into, there is a way, and I've been actually thinking about that. And surely, yes, I will work on that one. I will indeed. And
Yes.
I've got 2 pages of them here, and I've felt that they could be of value if they were in some different form as what I've already got. So yeah, I'll definitely pursue that one.
Yes, and there is a way to do that, and with the other ones that you have too. And I think a lot of people can find value with that. Yeah, yeah. So the legacy lives on.
Indeed, yeah.
Lives on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what's life like after Alan? What's post Alan life like, Delwyn? Because God, you guys were such partners in it all. And I know you and I, we've shared some tears and we've shared some laughs. And what's it like post Alan, Delwyn?
Yeah, it's very different. I'm doing my best to live my life in the love that he left behind. And there was a lot of that. Yeah, it's I have to keep busy. I'm finding I have to keep busy. I've made quite a few, I've done some sort of crafting things that will memorialize him. I've collated all the amazing and beautiful, wonderful sentiments that people have written to me, and I have put them all in a book. I've actually, hang about a minute, what have I done with it? Oh, here it is, here. And I've actually sort of painted the pages, and I've printed them all out so that I can just sort of sit and read them at my leisure. And I found that very cathartic, actually.
Wow.
I've made a collage of his funeral, the ceremony of celebration of his life. And I found that very comforting. I've also I've made all the amazing and beautiful cards that I received. I've made also a book here.
Wow.
Put them all together in here, and I found that very cathartic to go through too. And I found that's the way I've been working through my grief. As I say, I'm trying to live my life now in the love he left behind. So, and knowing that his legacy goes on, and knowing that the Phoenix Society is just pulling up. I'm just so excited about these online sessions and the online Wilburn Congress. And it's just it's continuing his legacy, which is just, it's just the most important thing. I'm sure he'd be looking down, smiling. Yeah.
And you continue to say Alan's legacy, but it really is Alan and Delwyn's legacy. It really is. And I know you downplay that, Delwyn, but I just don't know if it would have happened without you guys walking in lockstep. I just don't. I think things happen the way they're supposed to happen.
Well, thank you.
And man, it's been really good. And the memorial was just so nice to. Couldn't be there in person, of course, with the things in the pandemic, but it was just really nice being able to watch that online. And it was just so many heartfelt things that were shared during that memorial.
Well, everyone was so in awe of what you had said, Dennis, and your part of it was just so precious and valuable. And I just sort of want to thank you again for that input. It was just so beautiful, and it made it beautiful. It made it very special. So thank you again for that.
Of all the thousands of people you could have asked to say something, I just feel very blessed to be able to be a part of it, because Alan meant a lot to me, and you both do. And and I brag all the time because I know you relocated, and that's really love, to relocate to the other side of the world in the name of love.
Yeah.
And then once Alan retired, and he agreed, he offered to relocate to your home and return.
I know, and that really blew me away. I was so surprised because it was soon after the 9/11 happened, and we just thought, we really, like everybody else, we weren't feeling very safe there, and then we thought, well, maybe we should sort of relocate. We sort of perhaps should downsize anyway, and we looked around, couldn't find anything. I said, well, you've been here for 10 years for my children and my grandchildren, so perhaps it's time I went back for you and yours. And I couldn't believe what he said, because I felt that I'd be in America forever. I loved America. I still do so much. And that really blew me away. And so at that stage, my eldest son had been married a couple of years, and there was a new grandbaby on the way. And so it's when he said, you've got a grandchild coming, and so perhaps it's time for me to go back, spend time with you and yours. So then we sort of started packing up, and the immigration process began, and we immigrated in 2003. And he just loved New Zealand, loved it so much. So it was.
Say love is a two-way street, right?
It was, absolutely. Yeah. No, that was amazing.
And I hold bragging rights that I was your very first house guest when you guys relocated to New Zealand, and I'm going to hold on to those bragging rights as well. You guys.
And how privileged were we?
No, it was pretty neat. It was pretty neat. It was neat being here with you guys and being the very first house guest. That was even most special. Yeah.
It was very special for us to have you. So that was great.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Delwyn is in New Zealand. She's down under, and that truly is the other side of the world, because it's tomorrow where she is, and it's today in the real world. But this was a very, very quick hour. Delwyn, this was a quick hour, and we have a couple of minutes left. Did you want to read the poem that you read at the memorial, Delwyn? If not, that's fine.
Sure. Okay, I could do that. All right. Okay, I think
that'll be a good way to wrap up this hour.
Sure. Okay. Oh, well, here goes. I called it Honoring Alan, an incredible man who has had an amazing life. Such a privilege it was to be his wife. A few little insights you may be interested to hear, most of which that I know I will always hold dear. He had fun writing poetry, and to me taught the same. I hope to now do his teaching credit, to honor his name. He taught me so much, and I was eager to learn. The secret of his magic, was it due to his burn? He never knew the meaning of the very word stress, which intrigued me no end, I have to confess. I don't think he realized what a great gift this is, and one which I envied when I was in a right 'tis. I could be going out of my mind with a particular concern. Just one breath at a time was something I'd very soon learn. Not to worry, he'd say, it'll all work out. And sure enough it did. He never did have a doubt. His personal credo was to make the very best of one's life. No matter what your doubt or whatever the strife, you are alive, be happy, irrespective of looks, has held him so high in everyone's books. It didn't matter whatever the time of the day, he was always there for survivor fears to allay. There were times during the night when the phone would ring, sometimes even around 2. From a dead sleep, his cheery voice saying, "Good morning, Phoenix Society. How can we help you?" His love of Coke was always a worry for me. But hey, maybe that was the secret to his longevity. Pancakes always got his day off to a really great start, always made specially for him in the shape of a heart. Chess was his game, with a grandmaster he vied. Bent Larson, a world champion, but alas, he just tied. Always the winner of Boggle and Scrabble, those were his favourites, though in others he dabbled. Another keen interest was his love of the court. Tennis was his game, quite his favourite sport. Playing until he could not see the ball. He was 80-odd then, he had given his all. Always the gentleman with impeccable manners, not really so handy with crescents and spanners. But that didn't matter. I was much more impressed with the guy that he was and the way he was dressed. Always so particular with the clothes that he wore. His favorite labels, Yves Saint Laurent and Christian Dior. He made sure everything matched and was worn with panache. He did enjoy making his own smart and impeccable dash. From his father he inherited his amazing musical gift. A quick tune on the piano always gave one's spirits a lift. Having previously had his own orchestral band, playing since the crash with really only one hand. His musical talents even went down to his feet. Whenever we danced, they always knew every beat. When held in his arms, my spirits would soar. Oh my God, he really could burn the floor. With so many physical challenges, he never complained, always counting his blessings, even new skills he'd gained. Gradually losing his memory, mobility, and vision, but determined to live fully was always his mission. He supported me totally in whatever I chose to pursue, always cheering me on. There just wasn't more he could do. We've been each other's biggest fan for over 30 years, feeling so blessed and so happy with not too many fears. I loved the way he appreciated all of life and its wonder, always seeing its magic upon which he would ponder. I learned so much about people and the ways they cope with their strife. It can all be so complex, handling what we are given in life. Hundreds of thousands of lives he changed with his vision. A legacy so great, he really was a man with a mission. Rest in peace, my dearest Alan. Your work will go on. The legacy you have left is now ever so strong. This man was so special. He really was the love of my life. I know I don't have to tell you. I really did love being his wife.
Thank you very much, Delwyn, for sharing that with us, because that was very heartfelt, and I can't think of a better way to wrap up this hour.
Well, that was a surprise. I didn't expect you to ask me to do it. I just had a whole pile of stuff here on the table, and that just happened to be there.
Well, I think Alan wanted you to share it with us and share it with the world.
Quite possibly.
And that is
But you
just,
know, I never, he taught me to write poems. I never write poems until we used to do our, write poems together for people when they have their, celebration parties and things. And it was something I never did before, but that was just another thing I learned from him. We
well,
always had fun doing it together.
well, that was a very appropriate homage to him at his memorial, because it was very, very moving. And thank you for sharing it with us. And I don't know if there's anything that could follow that, Delwyn, but on behalf of the Georgia Firefighters Burn Foundation, we thank you so very much for gracing us with your time and your presence on this GFBF Talks episode. And on behalf of myself, because you are a dear friend to me, Delwyn, and just to be able to share another one of these conversations with you, it's just it's precious. But on behalf of the foundation and on behalf of burn survivors and family members and people who have been impacted by the devastation of burn injury and trauma, we say thank you, thank you, thank you, Delwyn, and God bless you.
Oh, thank you, Dennis. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. And as I say, I feel very privileged and very humbled that you've given me the invitation. And thank you so much. And
well, cool. And if we get some comments and some information that comes in, we'll forward that on to you. Okay.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you, Dennis. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Night, night.
Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.